Hello and a very good evening. You're watching the news tonight on Rajya Sabha television with me, Frank Pereira. Let's begin with the headlines. In a landmark decision, Prime Minister Narendra Modi announces that 500 and 1,000 rupee notes will cease to be legal tender from midnight tonight. New 500 and 2,000 rupee notes to be introduced. Months of bitter campaigning comes to an end in the United States. Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump conclude final pitch for the White House as voting begins to choose Barack Obama's successor. National Green Tribunal orders week-long ban on construction in Delhi and National Capital Region to battle pollution. Questions state government's decision to shut down schools. Pakistani troops target Indian posts on the line of control in Naushera sector of Rajouri district, kill one army jawan. Separatists meet traders and other organizations to normalize situation in the valley. And the Supreme Court permits BCCI to incur expense of 56.66 lakh rupees for India-England test match in Rajkot. Orders cricket body to make payments directly and not transfer funds to Saurashtra. Well, the Prime Minister Narendra Modi is addressing the nation. Let's listen to what he has to say.
Where every citizen can join this Mahayagna against the ills of corruption, black money and fake notes. The more help you give in this campaign, the more successful it will be. It has been a matter of concern for all us that corruption and black money tend to be accepted as a part of life. This type of thinking has afflicted our politics, our administration, and our society like an infestation of termites. None of our public institutions is free from these termites. Time and again, I've seen that when the average citizen has to choose between accepting dishonesty and bearing inconvenience, they always choose to put up with inconvenience. They will not support dishonesty. Once again, let me invite you to make your contribution to this grand sacrifice for cleansing our country, just as you clean your surroundings during Diwali. Let us ignore the temporary hardship. Let us join this festival of integrity and credibility. Let us enable coming generation to live their lives with dignity. Let us fight corruption and black money. Let us ensure that the nation's wealth benefits the poor. Let us enable law-abiding citizens to get their due share. I have confidence in 125 crore people of India. And I'm sure country will get success. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Namaskar. Bharat Mata ki Jai.
Now, in a major decision, Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced to the nation that 500 rupees and 1,000 rupee notes will stop being legal tender from midnight of November 8, 2016. In the Prime Minister's words, these notes are just pieces of paper from tomorrow. In his address to the nation, the Prime Minister said people who have these notes should exchange them in banks and head post offices and sub-post offices within December 30th, 2016. This can be done by providing a valid identity proof like Aadhaar, PAN card or voter ID card. People who possess 500 rupees and 100 rupee currency notes after December 30th can exchange them at Reserve Bank of India by providing a declaration till March 31st, 2017, stating that corruption, black money and terrorism can come in the way of a country's robust economic growth. The Prime Minister said that 500 and 1,000 rupee notes are mostly used in black money.
मध्यरात्रि यानी 8 नवंबर 2016 की रात्रि को 12 बजे से वर्तमान में जारी 500 रुपए और 1000 रुपए के करेंसी नोट लीगल टेंडर नहीं रहेंगे, यानी ये मुद्राएं कानूनन अमान्य होगी और 1000 रुपए के पुराने नोट 10 नवंबर से लेकर 30 दिसंबर 2016 तक आप अपने बैंक या डाकघर पोस्ट ऑफिस के खाते में बिना किसी सीमा के जमा करवा सकते हैं।
Well, joining me on the phone line right now is senior economist Mohan Guruswamy. Mohan Guruswamy, this is a major announcement that has just been made by the Prime Minister of the nation, which is going to have large-scale and far-reaching ramifications.
Of course it will have, but it's a recognition of the enormity of the problem and how corrosive the habit of not paying taxes has become, all pervasive, and it is estimated to be about 3/4 of the GDP. So I think some steps were in order, but I think some less disruptive measures could also be taken, like getting ready with the printing of new series of 500 rupee notes, 2000 rupee notes, and then asking people to go and exchange them. That would have probably solved a lot of bother. Because the next week there'll be a lot of disruption. Whether the banks have got 100 rupee notes, 50 rupee notes stocked up for people to exchange, all that has to be, is going to cause enormous disruption to normal life. This is something which we can't afford at this moment. Because as it is, the indications are that housing has dropped by 20%, gold purchases have dropped, consumption has dropped. So at this moment, government should also be thinking of stimulating the economy. So that will be delayed a bit. But in the long term, this might be a step in the right direction.
You know, there are certain things to this announcement, of course. The fact that, hospitals will continue to accept these notes, for some time. And this, of course, is a move in the right direction because people who are in an emergency can use 500 rupee and 1000 rupee notes. There are a few exceptions, of course, to this particular rule.
Yeah, but in India, exceptions become very difficult to enforce. The doctor is not going to take 500 rupee notes, no. Chemist shops are not going to take 500 rupee notes. ATM machines are going to be closed for 2 days. So this, I don't know. And there are people, large sections of the economy who keep their money in cash, farmers, small traders, wholesalers, people like that. And they'll have to be subject to enormous difficulties in accounting for it. The people who have big amounts of money, like the politicians and the industrialists, have all got their money abroad. Last year, the illicit export of currency was $83 billion. So they don't have money in India. So they don't lose anything. So to that extent, nothing has changed. Nothing changes very much. This whole bogey that you wipe out black money in one stroke by demonetization is also wrong. People who have money have it invested in properties, in lands, in various places. You go and get a search of registries done, unearthing of property and all. That is a different thing. You're not doing that. So I think, we'll have to wait and see the results pan out the way they're expecting it to.
Indeed. All right. We'll have to leave to that. Thank you so much, Mohan Guruswamy, for joining us on the program and putting things into perspective for us. Some more financial news now. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley said today that despite calls for protectionism in the world, India was looking to open its economy further. Jaitley also said that the centre will step up on reforms to attract more investment and bridge infrastructure deficit.
India is impatient to achieve higher growth, says the Finance Minister. Pointing out that India needs investments at the Indo-UK Trade Summit, Arun Jaitley enumerated several reforms initiated by the government. He said the India growth story is borne out by the fact that highways and rural roads are growing at one of the fastest rates in the world.
We are growing faster compared to the rest of the world, but by our own standards, we are still not satisfied. There's a great amount of impatience in India and a far greater amount of realization that we can grow much faster.
In line with British Prime Minister Theresa May's pitch for free trade, Jaitley emphasised the opportunities for joint ventures between India and the UK.
Between the United Kingdom and India, it's a relationship which is going to grow leaps and bounds. And I think the best of this relationship, which we have seen evolving over the last 7 decades, is yet to come. I'm
The
sure.
finance minister added that after deciding to quit the European Union, Britain is looking outside Europe and sees countries like India as a future partner in trade. Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
On another news now, the Supreme Court today came down heavily on the centre for not having any policy to tackle the rising pollution in the national capital. It gave the centre 48 hours to devise a minimum program to deal with pollution. Meanwhile, the National Green Tribunal also banned any kind of construction in Delhi and NCR region for the next 7 days. Here are the details.
The National Green Tribunal ordered a week-long ban on construction in Delhi and National Capital Region. A bench headed by NGT chairperson Swatantra Kumar also questioned if any scientific study was conducted before shutting down schools due to air pollution. Slamming Punjab, Haryana, Rajasthan and UP for not taking prior steps to control crop burning, NGT directed the 4 states and Delhi to give complete mechanism on implementation of its directions to curb air pollution.
कॉरपोरेशन को और डीडीए को इन दोनों विभागों से कहा गया है कि जो भी आपकी जो जितनी भी मैन पावर है, जितने भी स्ट्रेंथ हैं आपके, उनमें से तकरीबन आधे लोगों को आप डिप्लॉय करें और उनको फील्ड में लगाएं और खासकर जो गार्बेज बर्निंग की या फिर कंस्ट्रक्शन मटेरियल जो सड़क पे पड़े रहते हैं या जो भी साइट इस तरह से ऑपरेशनल है जहां पे कि प्रॉपर केयर नहीं लिया जा रहा, उसको लेकर आप थोड़ा ज़्यादा स्ट्रिक्ट एक्शन लें.
In another petition filed by environmentalists, the Supreme Court directed the centre to devise a common minimum program to deal with pollution by Thursday.
If the pollution level is say 200, which is double of what is the safe limit, you may decide to close down schools. If it is 400, you may decide to take the cars off the road. If it is 600, you may decide to shut down the entire city. So what is your common minimum graded response to a pollution emergency? That's what the Chief Justice wants the Union government to come up with.
Meanwhile, capital Delhi continued to struggle with the worst pollution in 17 years on Tuesday. While visibility improved marginally as winds swept through the region, levels of PM 2.5 remained at hazardous levels at 202 micrograms per cubic meter. The prescribed standards of PM 2.5 is 60, and anything beyond that can harm the respiratory system as the ultrafine particulates can embed deep into the lungs and also enter the bloodstream. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, at a time when Britain and the United States are tightening their visa regimes, Canada is launching more innovative visa processes. The government is specifically focusing on skilled Indians and students who can not only work in Canada but even choose to make it their permanent home. Our correspondent Akhilesh Suman spoke with John McCallum, Canadian Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship, to understand the latest initiatives. Let's listen in.
So, are you going to relax visa norms for Indians in Canada?
Well, we're taking strong measures to promote immigration. I'll mention 2 areas. We've just announced a global talent strategy, which will make it much easier for high-tech workers to come to Canada on temporary visas. It'll only take 4 weeks to process it, and we want to welcome many more. The second area is international students. I think international students will make the best future Canadians, and so we're going to make it easier for international students to become permanent residents.
So, there are so many skilled workers in India, and there's many Indian companies who are working in Canada, like in restaurant and other fields. They sometimes tell that there's a visa for those skilled workers are not easy, and they are facing some problems.
We also have our express entry system, which allows skilled people in, and there's a 6-month processing time.
So, is there any special treatment or is there any preference you are going to give to students who can go there, study and also work there?
Absolutely. What we're going to do is we're going to give international students more points under what we call express entry, so it will be easier for international students to become permanent residents of Canada.
There is another category of Indians who have capacity to live in Canada, but they're not skilled workers, but they have money, they have capital, they can go and stay in Canada, they can become a citizen of Canada, they can live for the whole life. So is there any consideration for such type of people who are wealthy, but they have passed their age like 50 or so?
We don't have an investor program, if that's what you mean. We do not have a program where if you invest a certain amount of money, you're guaranteed permanent residence. We have programs for skilled workers. We also have a very important family class. And we're working very hard to make it quicker for husband and wife to come to Canada faster.
Moving on now, news from Jammu and Kashmir, where another army jawan was killed today in unprovoked firing by Pakistani troops in Naushera sector of Rajouri district. 2 jawans were also injured in Kalal belt along the line of control. Heavy shelling was also reported in KG sector of Poonch district. Retaliating strongly, the Indian troops also hit 3 Pakistani posts. Well, the governor of the RBI is addressing a press conference at the moment. Let's listen to what he has to say.
Which has been increasing in numbers. Notably, in recent years, foreign fake Indian currency notes in high denominations, either 500 and 1,000, has been increasing. However, I can assure you there has been no breach of any of the security features. But for ordinary and common public, the looks of an fake Indian currency note is similar to genuine notes, which makes it difficult for them to distinguish the fake from the genuine. Thus, there is a congruence of thought between RBI and government. There are multiple objectives that can be achieved with the replacement of the old high denomination notes with a new series. This led us to take the decision, either Central Board of the RBI, to withdraw the legal tender character of 500 rupees and 1,000 rupee denomination banknotes. The opportune moment for withdrawal of old series is when we are ready with new series banknotes for effective replacement. Further, to replace the already existing large number of banknotes, we should be ready with adequate numbers of the new series note. As of today, and over the past weeks and months, we have ramped up our production and are ready to meet such a requirement in the weeks and days to come. Hence, it was decided to introduce the scheme that the Prime Minister announced. I will now request Mr. Shaktikant Das to say a few words. Thank you.
1 minute. Please. I will answer that question. Let me please finish. Good evening, friends. I'm sure you would have heard the Honorable Prime Minister's address to the nation on the All India Radio and also in various TV channels and Doordarshan. The decision of the government to cancel the legal tender status of 500 rupee notes and 1000 rupee notes is a very bold and powerful and a very decisive step to fight the menace of black money and the use of fake Indian currency notes, counterfeit Indian currency notes for financing of terrorism. There have been reports which various investigative and other law enforcement agencies have been getting that all these counterfeit currencies are being used for financing terrorism. They look similar to the Indian, the legal currency notes. So far as the governor has mentioned, our security features have not been breached, but since the notes, counterfeit notes, look similar to the normal legal notes, naturally any member of the public is likely to be misled. So this is a very powerful measure which the government has taken. And as you know, the government has taken a series of measures against the black money, problem of black money over the last 2 years. And this is one more effective and decisive measure which will go a long way in that direction. The fake Indian currency notes and the use of black money also, they fuel inflation and they corrode the very basis of our economy and eat into the vitals of our economy. There are statistics which show that the circulation of the high denomination currency notes have also expanded significantly over the last 5 years or so. In fact, between 2011 to 2016, the circulation of all currency notes from lower denominations to the highest denomination, they have grown by about 40% between 2011 and 2016. But the circulation of 500 rupee currency notes have increased by 76%, and 1000 rupee currency notes have increased by 109%. But during this period, that is during this period 2011 to 2016, the economy has expanded, the size of the economy has expanded by 30%. So obviously there is disproportionately high usage of high denomination currency notes. Reports were also received about use of this money for storing unaccounted wealth, so that problem also had to be tackled. There are several operational guidelines. We will be issuing a press note, detailed press note, which will contain the various operational guidelines, but our colleague Mr. Gandhi, Deputy Governor, perhaps may like to mention some of the operational guidelines. And let me take this opportunity also to mention that the exchange, with this, the government also tonight, along with this notification, which was announced by the Honorable Prime Minister, we are also launching, the RBI will releasing new currency notes with new features, new designs and new dimensions from the 10th of November onwards. Tomorrow is a bank holiday. The treasuries also will remain closed. So the new notes will be released, will be introduced to the market, will be infused to the market from 10th November onwards. Now, I would just like to show the design for the benefit of all our the friends and those who have the cameras. This is the design of the 500 rupee, new 500 rupee note. And this has the Red Fort, which is a heritage monument. I mean, Red Fort is there. And this new series will be known as the Mahatma Gandhi new series of banknotes. Then apart from that, we are also introducing a 2000 rupee note, which carries a photo of Mangalyaan. So this highlights the scientific development and the research progress that India has achieved. These denominations size will be a little smaller than the existing notes, and they will be released to the market. And we are setting up control rooms in the Reserve Bank of India and in the Department of Economic Affairs of the Finance Ministry. The control room of the Reserve Bank of India, so far as the public is concerned, it will be set up in Mumbai, so it will be 022, and the numbers are 2260 2201. I repeat, 022 2260 2201, and one more number, again Mumbai number, 2260 2944. The control room in the Ministry of Finance will be operational from tomorrow morning 8 a.m. For the first 15 days, it will operate 24 hours, and the number is 011 2309 3230. 2309 3230. This is the Delhi number, and we will be operating a control room. And we have also sensitized the various state governments, the state chief secretaries, the director generals of police, the other central authorities to take all necessary measures for smooth implementation of this changeover. And may I also mention that the one appeal I would like to make to the citizens of country, to the members of the public, it is possible that there are people who are holding lot of unaccounted cash. My appeal to the members of the public is not to let yourself to be used by anyone for exchange of such notes in the banks, because the banks will keep record of identity of whoever goes to the bank counter. The banks have also installed video cameras in their premises, which will be recording the various people, which will be sort of recording the whole proceedings of the banking transactions. So our appeal to ordinary citizens is kindly, please do not allow yourself to be used by anybody else for exchanging their illegal cash. But yes, if you are carrying legal cash for your friend or your relative or for somebody, I mean, you are free to do that. So I'll stop here and leave it to Mr. Noronha to take it forward.
Well, Shantikanta Das, the Finance Secretary, and Urjit Patel, the RBI Governor, they're explaining the ramifications and explaining why the government took the decision on the 500 rupees and 1000 rupee notes. Moving on now, after months of bitter campaigning, the world's most powerful nation will have a new leader soon. Voting to choose Barack Obama's successor began earlier today. Ahead of voting, however, Clinton and Trump made final pitches to woo voters. Here's more. The wait is finally over. The US election began earlier today with many polling booths on the East Coast opening at 6 a.m. Eastern Time or 11 a.m. GMT. Polling booths opened in all 50 states and in Washington, D.C. across 6 time zones. Voting will close between midnight and 1 a.m. GMT on November 9th. In Iowa and North Dakota, polls are open till 2 a.m. GMT. However, the first ballots were cast in a sleepy hamlet in New Hampshire, traditionally the first in the nation to vote on election day, with Democratic candidate Hillary Clinton winning the contest. Clinton registered her first win in the 2016 elections by 4 votes to 2 against her Republican rival Donald Trump soon after midnight in the remote northeastern part of the US. The first votes of the election were cast just after midnight by the residents of Dixwell Notch, New Hampshire. There was hectic campaigning ahead of voting. President Barack Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama sought to lift Hillary Clinton to victory, while Donald Trump warned she was the face of failure and predicted he would blow her away in Tuesday's election. On a dramatic final day of the ugliest campaign in modern history, the candidates and their surrogates held nearly 24 rallies, chased one another through swing states and made desperate last pleas to voters. In North Carolina, Hillary Clinton held her last major campaign speech of the election season into the very early hours of Tuesday.
Tomorrow we face the test of our time. So remember, it's not just my name or Donald Trump's name on the ballot. It's the kind of country we want. It's every issue anyone cares about.
Earlier, at Hillary Clinton's rally in Philadelphia, the Obamas called for Americans to head to the polls and cast their votes for the nation's first female president.
A country where a passionate, outspoken young woman, determined to do all the good she can go on to break the highest, hardest glass ceiling and become our president. That is the power you have and the history you can make tomorrow, but only if we get out and vote for Hillary Clinton. So can we count on you? Can Hillary count on you? We've got to get this done. You've got to get out and vote. We can make this happen.
And America, I'm betting on you one more time. I'm betting that tomorrow, most mom and dads across America won't cast their vote for someone who denigrates their daughters from the highest office in the land.
Trump, meanwhile, presented himself as the face of change for Americans whom he said had been let down by a corrupt political system.
Hillary Clinton is the most corrupt person ever to seek the office of the presidency of the United States. She is being protected by a totally rigged system that I've been talking about for a long time. It's a rigged system. Now it's up to the American people to deliver justice at the ballot box. And I don't have to say, do it tomorrow, do it in a week. You're going to do it today. You'll go to sleep for a couple of hours, right? We're hours away from a once-in-a-lifetime change. We're going to have real change, not Obama change.
The nominees have done everything that they possibly can. And after nearly 2 years of bitterness and rancor, it is for the people of the United States to elect their 45th president. Who will it be, Hillary or Trump? We just have to wait a few more hours to find out. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television. Well, that's it on this edition of the News Tonight. Good night.